Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
I love these intros. I love working on them. I really do. They're really, really cool. Welcome to Blackwater Medicine Podcast. Mina Mishki Wabo podcast today. I'm sorry I was trying to post it on Saturday, but I decided to take the day off, and we're gonna post it right away. So good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is a lovely morning here. And finally, the weather has cleared up quite a bit. So I wanted to do a little this discussion about spirit guides. Now I'm going to go through sort of like an in-depth detail about it, and I'm going to use a lot of different terminology that some of you may or may not have or understand or what's it all about. But before I begin, as always, as that's my little protocol for my show. Speak good, listen good. Of course, I'm always talking about is my man. Oh. So spirit guides. A lot of people don't realize that spirit guides have been with us since the beginning of human existence. One of the things that I always start the day with prayer. Way to start. Say good morning, God. Morning, Creator. Morning. That's how it should begin. So as I was saying before, spirit guides have been with us since the beginning of everything. And I'm not just talking about native culture. I'm not talking about just that, but I'm talking about cultures all over the world. We all have spirit guides. And I want to get into a more broader stroke of what guides are, basically what they are. I mean, whether you believe them or not, whether you see them or not. Let me give an example. Of course, people always talk about if you're Catholic and if you're from the Christian aspect, you guys talk about your guardian angels, you know. And even if you're Catholic, you'll say Saint Michael. Would Saint Michael be considered a spirit guide? I'm not even talking about Christianity. Let's talk about other stuff. Let's talk about the yeah. There's so many variations of spirit guides. It's so hard to come up with the one term that is really logistically out there. And the term spirit guides, from what it is in the internet, so this is that the lingo of modern mystics, spirit guide is the non-physical being assigned to the helpless soul to maintain the greatest potential on earth. I think all the humans and undergrads and life as nerd think spirit guides are wrong chapter. Well, you got to really look at your stuff. You got to look around like what. Um, so there's different types of spirit guides. I mean, really, there's all kinds. But let's talk about how you get in tune with it. Now, how do you get in tune with your own spirit guide? Like, how do you do? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it a scary thing? Is it a kind of thing? Um, First of hand, acknowledge your guides out there. Now, if you're part of the Anishinaabe culture, you're given a clan plus a guide with it. Now, people always say, what animal or what representation is closest to you? People say, oh, I'm closest to my pet dog is one of my helpers and leaders. And then you start thinking about that, you're part of the wolf clan, and so you're thinking about the dogs and wolves. That leads into one of your clans. And also, you're thinking about like, um, if you're a bear clan, right? You're connected to the bear. I still remember when I was a kid growing up. I remember my grandmother wanted two bears, and remember my uncle was with her, and he looked up and he said to me, it was really weird because when I was talking, when bears all over the place, and she didn't bother them. They didn't bother us, and so there she was picking blueberries with all these black bears, and one black bear, I guess she said, Majan, Majan, she would say, go on, and taken off, and that was one of the interesting stories about like how her in tune with nature, whatever it is. And you know what? It could be anything. Your Celtic could be forest. Spirit guides are not just animals, but anything around us that we can acknowledge that there's something far more to us than let's just say my little tool here. Um, so why do we have such big connection? Why is it to have these things? I think sometimes we need something more to life than just a friend or something that we would consider a higher above forms, yes, beyond human understanding. And so we look to these other things that are worldly and outer worldly as our guide to understanding our own situations, no matter what it is. Um, and so when I look at the idea of, well, people ask me, what is my spirit guide? That given the, well, that are meant for leadership and all this other stuff. But you know, it wasn't the eagle that actually gave me the ceremony for that. He says, no, eagles are your closest to creator. You have to be closest to. I'm not here to step on people's teachings of whether or not, um, if they have their teachings of their own spirit guide. So I'm not the authority of this thing. I'm not the spiritual police. I'm not giving a straight version of this because I want to acknowledge all teachings out there, all teachings, not just Native, First Nations, Inuit, but every teaching out there about these things because there's a lot of dynamics of it. And so this guide to spirit guides is this discussion for the next bit about what it really is all about. And I think sometimes whenever I look at how we are, we need to like first of all start asking like, what is my um first of hand, you know what? If you're a person who writes something, if you're a writer or something like that, write a page or write something that you would personally put, and I would put that in somewhere. Here, it comes along, and it usually does. If you acknowledge these things, you can always ask for that. Ceremonies are always something that happens. If you're going to swell, ask for an elder to give you one. If you're really honestly seeing something that you really want, it will come. Now, I'm not just even talking about animals. I'm talking about maybe even your grandmother who passed away would be your guide. These things that are far more mystical, beyond understanding. There's one of the things that that we as people want to look out for. Um, it's also meant for us to have a clarification and guidance for everything we're doing. Um, if you're cooking, your aunt's favorite recipe, and she'll say, and you always think, just there's that one ingredient that's missing, and then all of a sudden the ingredient shows up, something mystical happens, and all of a sudden you're, lo and behold, oh, you got ingredients you're missing because your aunt from the other side says, hey, here is what you got, here's what you're missing. And so I think with the way how we are, um we're always seeking for some sort of answers for something that is beyond us, beyond our scope of things. Whether it's an angel, animal, or something, it's something that we want our our help, or what we need to get help with. And that's why spirit guides is such an important thing. I think most times we should always acknowledge them. We should always put out spirit dish and out some sort of mini ceremony for them because they're always there. Um, and many times I'm always thinking that we should always say, "Hey, how you doing?" Acknowledge of so that's just some of the highlights of what acknowledgement spirit guides are. Um, are there types? I would believe there's many types. Not just animals. There's air types. There's water types, plant types, rock types, angels types. There's all kinds of types. But is there also, dare I say, is a dark version of spirit guide? That, ladies and gentlemen, is a very, very tricky and very interesting thing to put in there about dark spirit types. Now, when I mean dark, I mean, am I talking about evil spirits? Am I talking about maybe yes and no? Yes and no. Because um, in the old days, I guess people used to thought black cats were considered an evil omen, even ravens, crows, because they have this mysticism about them. I have a black cat, beautiful Persian cat, rat. But is she mystical? She's very mysterious. She's very beautiful. But um, I'm always thinking people who put these types of energies into these omens, um, either one don't understand and they're really afraid of it, as the old cliche saying is that what you understand, or other times you're really trying to really say, oh, there's something about that I don't like. That's a little bit of the dark part about spirit guides because sometimes we pick up a demon along the way or some sort of dark energy that could that be a spirit guide? Could be. It could be. Um, but they're helpers. Quite honestly, even when I use my introduction, you guys saw Sabe of their Bigfoot as an introduction. Bigfoot is considered the king mystic of mystics, right? Of land and spirit together combined on our world. People see it; they're getting photographs of it every day, and maybe one day they'll actually capture one. Hopefully, not happen, but no. Um, yeah, it's one of those amazing things that we have in this world that we put together. And spirit guides is just one of the many things that we have as it. So, native terminology. Let's go for that first now. Um, there's not many people always considered in having a future. I guess to say a bond with everything that's spirit. Um, and so you know, people will walk around in their daily life and they'll say, "Oh, look, there's a raven. Oh, there's a raven, a big mystic there. That's my spirit guide." Or they own a piece of it, like bear skull. Or um, uh, I think a lot of times with Native people, we have this really in tune with our culture and spirituality. Now, I'm not talking about commercial. I'll probably get into that sometime later on about commercialization of that's probably a something that has to be. But right now, spirit guides is one of the things that we have that we look at. Um, I just want to say, like, most times we're not looking to our understanding of these things. Um, we get really spooked by these things. I think a lot of times, uh, the way how we get really scared of these things is something that we don't understand. Now, what's really interesting, and I'm going to jump back to the Christianity world part, is that the spirit guide. Now, this is really interesting. There's three in one. You guys know what that means? The three in one: Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Right? They consider the spirit guide. The Holy Spirit is considered the ultimate in Catholic terminologies as the ultimate spirit guide for all that. The spirit, the embodiment of God itself, Gichi Yahweh. It's Yahweh is a term that's used, but I mean the Great Spirit itself is with this term, and so when you think about the three in one, um, that's sacred of sacreds, right? Jesus would be considered spirit guide. I never I think to myself, not to disrespect people who are in the religious world. Um, there's so much. How do I even put this together even nicely? Is that you know what there's always a stack of one religion is greater than the other, and one has more answers than the other, and so on. You know what? God's up there thinking to himself, there. I hate when they argue about me. They don't talk to me. They argue about me. That's just my personal views, and 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 I always kind of wonder whether or not people realize that when I think about my own spirit guides, of my own spiritual ancestry, I just really want to like be respected. People would respect this idea about what we really believe in, what we are chanting about. I'm always surprised by these things about this because sometimes I never expect things to happen for me that happen, and I'm always saying this as a quote of my life is that Creator provides. Creator does provide. It provides big. I never expected something. I just don't ask for it, and it happens. It really happens. And so that's just some of the things that I always look at as the mysticism of Native people. But there are still Native people out there who don't believe in our culture. There's still a lot of people out there who very still learning the process of. They have better ways to go even to get to the point of having a spirit guide, acknowledgement of. Um, I was actually I was out talking to a friend of mine, and not to say this thing badly, but I mean he was sitting there talking about how we're not really being honest with our culture because um, we're just kind of more or less venting about like the Indian apple. I'll probably get into that later on because that's a topic that's going to be definitely covered as well. But he was saying basically is that we need to like really understand the magnitudes in the even the great sleeping giant itself. Like there's a sleeping giant in our city that has mystical stories about it, why it sleeps, and and I always think to myself that's Nana Buju, the great one himself up there happening. Um, I always hear legends about it, and it's a beautiful story. I'll definitely and then the way how we are go to our 9 to 5, we do our daily day, and we go to our grind, and then we end up finding out um we have to find something more to us. Need that acknowledgement, and so we look for it in all different ways. For it in the Bible, we look for it in hikes and walks. This is acknowledgement. And you know what? I gotta say, sometimes I meet Native people who really are absolutely don't understand it. They're really afraid of spirit guides. They'll say, the other day I went to the sweat lodge and I brought something home to me and it was scary and then something was not, haunting of the apartment. And maybe that's your aunt. Your aunt going through the kitchen. Or you doing your dishes. That's just some of the things. I Spirit guides are not really meant to harm us. They're meant to help us. They're meant to guide us. They're meant to give us wisdom. They're meant to share with us something. For example, if I lose this thing that was with my family for centuries and all of a sudden comes back to me mysteriously, that's a spirit guide. That is something that is really out there. Um, I just think to myself with way how we look at the world, we need to look something more than just flesh and metal. I should do a test about. I just think to myself with the way how I'm really loosening up all of this because there's some people who are really dead serious about this stuff. Really go all out. Um can you send your spirit guide to attack somebody? Yeah. But it comes back to you in the worst way possible. It's always better not to do these things because you know what? Creator itself is the one that has the ultimate authority of over everything. No matter what we do or say, songs we sing or whatever. Now we need to really put these spirit guides, these things as respectably as we can. We try to do. It's really quite um dangerous if we try to put negative way how these are. I just want to say like quite honestly, some careful of the negativity we carry within ourselves because it also affects our spirit. It affects our spirit as well. That's why sometimes if I'm ever in a really really annoying mood or a really bad mood, I don't touch my items. I really don't. I don't want my negativity in myself to tamper with those items that I carry, ego feathers and hand drums and so because I just want to keep it pure as I can be. And and that's why sometimes I'm always thinking to myself, these protests and happens. Um, uh, people bring out hand drums and stuff like that, and quite fine that they do that. But I mean, it doesn't become a healing drum after that. It becomes necessarily a war drum. And I would probably recommend people to make two drums for these things because one's for your healing, your own personal, your own, and one is for meant for. I would never ring my drums too because it's not meant for. So if you're gonna be going to protesting, my advice is just drums. So yeah. But as I was saying before, the acknowledgement that we have towards our spiritual essence as human beings is limited. How we worship, that's a thing. Um, and of course, times are changing. You know, I'm even looking at people who are part of the darker realms, Satanism and stuff like that. They also have the right to worship as they want to, whether people agree with this or not. You know, um, even that part alone is still acknowledgement for everything that's out there. That's why you always see the movies, the movies out there where the guys out there being possessed by that. That's a spirit guide person possessed, and they're like going. Of course, Hollywood does a really fantastic job for scare about these things, but the ultimate authority of spirits, creator self, no matter how we use these things, there is um there's an old movie I'm thinking about back then. There's an old movie called I think it's called Pinhead. I think it's an old horror movie called Pinhead. Was a movie where this old farmer guy got his kid killed or something like that, and he asked the local witch to bring out forth this creature to have revenge on the people that killed his kid. And of course, this creature comes out and then hunts and kills these people. Guy realizes that was wrong, and so he ended up becoming the creature self because there's a way to these. Um, that's a spirit guide. That is a twisted version of a spirit guide, but that's just what you see these movies out there that have bound, boundless of creatures and monsters out there, but I always look at them as form of spirit guides. There's both light and dark of these things. Whether you want the light version to give you the answers, whatever trauma you're going through, or the dark to say, I want my enemy to be attacked upon. But you got to also pay for that. There's something that has to come to get back on that. That's why sometimes I always say, if you're sitting in a chair of ceremony and you're in that type of position, you too will also be judged by these things, because people out there don't realize that that type of negative energy will come back to you, and creator sees all. That's why sometimes um whenever I think about the eagle that I have carried with me, that eagle never stops blinking. It always looks, always sees. So I'm always very aware of these things, lightness or darkness of. Um, but anyways, as I was saying before, the world of spirit guides is all around us. It could be a butterfly. It could be a simple thing as a butterfly. My aunt. That's why I have the butterfly on my arm. That's acknowledgement. So we're always continuing these ideas of what our spirit guides are, and we're always acknowledging it some way, one way, form, or another. Now, I'll give you a really true story. So I was a kid, and I remember my grandfather says, "Don't you bug those ravens, bug those crows. It's your lesson." So like, yeah, yeah, don't care. So I go there. I see a bunch of ravens and crows, and I'm throwing stones at them. Uh, and what happens? I trip and I smash my leg really bad on a rock. That was a warning shot. Spirit world saying, "Grandfather told you," because there's always that process of karma. Um, so yeah, it's just a lot of these things that we need to look at when it comes to our spiritual walk in this world, whether we know this or not. Um, and it is quite interesting to know people out there who would love to learn and see these things and share with me these stories about their own little experiences of spirituality, and say, I had this one time, this aunt or relative, and it came back to me in a dream. That's just some of the things that how these spirit guides come to us: ceremonies, dreams, finding things, moving in the house. Because our world is not just flesh and bone, something else other than out there. As you see in my background, like the stuff. That's part of who we are as people. I just want to like I said, acknowledge everything that we are as people. To us to acknowledge is to also acknowledge the spirits out there. I just like I said, just the short version of the spirit guide world. I give you a little bit of stories. If you guys are actually part of this story, yeah, just I that's why for me, I'm really like, wow, wow. I remember the first time I did see something when I was little. I was a kid with my grandmother. We were at this ceremony. She was having her shaker, and she said, "Don't be afraid." Then when I looked in the fire, that's when I seen something that's coming in from that fire. But this person had something really negative with healing ceremony for this person, and so when I looked at it, it was something like I've never forgot. It had this really weird looking set of eyes, teeth, like dark or something, all around its face. And I never forgot that. I never forgot the way how that looked. I've never seen any Hollywood movie to represent what the spirit world really looks like. We can only imagine. Even cartoons. I've never seen anything quite like it. Um, but people sometimes, and I gotta say, they play spiritual. That's the dangerous part because you cannot play spiritual. Because when you play spiritual, ah, you always see the horror movies again. I'm going back to the horror movies again. You go back to the horror movies where the person plays with the Ouija board, and they always put something in their world, and all of a sudden their house is haunted. Right? That's playing spiritual. It's not giving that enough respect for the other side, because some things on the other side are just not friendly. And so you see people out there who play with these things, and they're definitely haunted by things. Um, and it's their doing. It's not their do. It's not your doing, someone else doing, but it's their doing. That's why I always kind of really look at these types of events, and I don't really play with them. I don't. I have deepest respect for that as I can, because you never know. You really never know. And of course, the horror movies come out where the person gets possessed. All these people get going crazy. And stuff. Even Bird Box, right? The movie Bird Box that came out with Sandra Bullock, I think. Um, the movie is based on something that's not seen, and so people go crazy and they go. But that's an alien movie. But we are always continuing, and then if you can look through YouTube, you will see ghost videos that are now far more out there than before. That is spirit world coming into our world. Um, so like I said, spirit guides and spirit worlds and everything is Jibai. Jibai, the Anishinaabe word is Jibai. Um, is something that has to be respected. Every time I do a ceremony, fire, I always have to make sure that the fire is out, doors are closed. People out there, again, I'm really really annoyed about this, that they play spirit, and once they play spirit, they mess around things that I should never ever mess around with. That's why people like us and others out there who really know these things really are give the greatest respect to the spirits out there are there with us. So anyways, I want to thank you guys for this little podcast. I'm sorry guys, I should have got it to you guys sooner, but it's not gonna busy. I'll take some. But anyways, I want to thank you guys for tuning in on this, and I hope y'all are having a great day today. So enjoy the week. Amape.